Is there anything wrong with that? No. It sounds like a pretty good idea to me. We have to do it with our own budgets, but the federal government, they think that they can spend forever and keep going. What's wrong with the idea of taking away the power from a secret group of individuals to print money at will? You know, I can't. Pretty reasonable thing to do. But those who will mock us for wanting to follow the Constitution, I don't know whether they just don't read it, or don't care, or they don't understand it, or just what. But they don't want to pay attention to it. I think one of the problems is if we want to be generous and give them the benefit of the doubt, so many over the last many decades, maybe 40 or 50 years, we have been taught in our educational system that it shouldn't be a rigid document. It should be a flexible document. It should be changing with the times, and therefore they can say, well, anything we want to say, it does. I don't think those individuals who take the old laws in Washington and never seem to follow it, I don't think there's any sleep at all. I think they say, well, we're just doing what's right, and this is the way it's supposed to be, and we don't want to be overly rigid. Well, the founders gave us a perfect way of changing things if we want to modernize our Constitution. That is, amend it. Don't just ignore it. This is where the crisis has come from. We as a people have allowed our politicians and our courts in the executive branch as well as the legislative branch to just plain out ignore the Constitution. So we're acting outside the law. We don't have law right now. For instance, it's been 50 years or so that the federal government's been involved in public education. Now, the Constitution doesn't address the education only indirectly. It implies that the states and the individuals and the churches would work this out among the states. But there's no explicit authority for the federal government to run public education. Therefore, we shouldn't even have a Department of Education. Let's say the people and the majority say, well, we think the federal government should. If they want to, what they should have done, then the Constitution said, now the federal government's going to take over education. But the fact that we can go from no federal government authority to be involved to the point where you can't do anything without the federal government permission, that transition, when it was done this way, this means that the rest of the Constitution doesn't have much meaning. The monetary issue. Is there any meaning in the Constitution? It still says only gold and silver can be legal tender. You can't emit bills of credit, which is paper money. There's no authority for a central bank, and look at what we have. So it's the lack of respect for the rule of law that has gotten us into this mess. So someday, if we want to survive as a republic, we're going to have to change that. We cannot be an empire run by the dictatorship of the majority to run a welfare warfare state. If that continues, we're going to go off a cliff in not too many years from now. But right now, I can report to you from my many cities across the country that there's a lot of people that are now with us and are determined that they know exactly where the problems come from and what we ought to do, and our numbers are growing.